The Impact Catalyst, in collaboration with mining partners, will connect 247 schools in 4 provinces. The project is expected to provide over 172,000 pupils and teachers with access to the internet. Joining us is Thato Matsio, the ICT and Education Head at Impact Catalyst. Thato, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. So the School Connectivity Initiative is being led by the Impact Catalyst and supported by 8 other companies. What do you see as the importance of really connecting all these schools and specifically disadvantaged schools to the internet in South Africa, and particularly in the context of promoting digital inclusion and the access to educational resources?
Yeah, no, it's quite important that we really address that issue, particularly in the rural areas. You would know that in the rural areas, there is acute lack of digital infrastructure. So, but to ensure that we put everybody on the same level from an educational outcome point of view, it's really important that we introduce tools like internet connectivity so that they have the same type of resources, same type of information, and also platforms that are available for educational purposes. So meaning that the kid in a rural area should have the same type of opportunities like a child in Sandton. So that's precisely what we want to achieve through internet connectivity. And interconnectivity, it's a platform and it's actually a foundation to ensure that there is actually digital inclusion, because without it, it's very difficult to be able to access all the other digital opportunities on the internet, whether it is e-learning platforms, social media platforms that are related to education, educational needs of these schools, and so on and so forth. So without the digital infrastructure in this instance, which is connectivity, it's quite impossible to level the playing field across the various communities of South Africa.
Most certainly. I mean, you make mention of disadvantaged schools and schools in rural areas. What have been some of the challenges that you've encountered so far in trying to connect these schools?
Some of the challenges, you would note that historically in rural areas, there was lack of investment from the various telecom infrastructure or companies across South Africa, simply because of the economies, or if I may put it, the feasibility of doing so did not make sense from a financial point of view. So the deployment of this type of infrastructure becomes very expensive to deploy in remote areas where they don't have the required numbers from an economic point of view to be able to make sense of the deployment of this type of infrastructure in this area. So those are some of the challenges that we have experienced when we started to deploy the connectivity to the school. The main infrastructure, if I may call it that way, or the core infrastructure, in a lot of instances, it's either it was not available or it was insufficient. So those are type of challenges that we were experiencing. But with the different methods of connecting these schools, we were able to then overcome some of these challenges. But mainly it was because of the lack of investment that did not happen in these areas.
So of course, with the work that you've done so far with collaborating with other businesses, in your experience, how can businesses play a role in bridging this digital divide by providing internet connectivity and technology resources to these underserved schools? And what are the potential benefits of such partnerships?
Yeah, so I think the role that businesses can play in this instance is through, be more sustainable in terms of their outlook when it comes to their planning processes. So it's more like integrating and putting the connectivity or the digital divide more as an agenda point in terms of how they plan technology, not only for themselves as a business, but also for the community where they are actually placing their businesses at. you know, and from a partnership point of view, and also look at how they can also partner, especially when they bring all this technological advancement into their own companies. How do they bring the communities along to ensure that they don't leave them behind as they, you know, bring this technological advancement into their areas, but also have an outlook of partnerships, you know, so that it drives, removes this silo mentality of each and everyone for themselves, and ensuring that they are able to drive economies of scale, bring together resources, you know, skills, and also time to ensure that when they do things together, they are able to reach much more and have much more greater impact when it comes to addressing this issue of digital divide, and ensuring that we bring along our kids and also our communities into the next phase of social economic development, which is really affected by the fourth industrial revolution.
You speak of impact, and I can imagine that yourselves and these other 8 companies are doing this for the impact that this would have. So
Yes.
in your experience, how then do you measure this impact that having the internet connectivity and the access to technology on the quality of education and the learning outcomes for these students in these underserved communities?
So obviously, connectivity on its own will not be able to address the ultimate outcome on its own, but it is a very important stepping stone to be able to address that educational outcomes. As you would know, we have issues of literacy and mathematics that we are trying to resolve, and also we want to also achieve certain educational outcomes in the STEM field, science, technology, and maths fields that we're trying to address. But technology is an enabler for us to be able to then set up all these other programs that is meant towards addressing some of these challenges that we're experiencing as a country. But, with our visits to the schools, what we have seen already being done by the school themselves, or the benefits that the connectivity is already bringing to the school, we've seen that it also improves how teachers, deliver their classes as well. They introduce technology, they make their classes more livelier, they show videos in the classroom to be able to make the things and the concept that they are explaining in the school more relatable, because they're able to show it in a live format, and students are able to understand some of these concepts much more better. In one of the schools that we visited, some of the teachers even indicated that the kids are more excited to come to school because they are able to relate much more better when classes are actually conducted in this way, through not only going through textbooks, but also showing them real life pictures, and also through this technology, so that they are able to understand these concepts much better. And we also seen that it's actually used through the use of YouTube and also online platforms that are meant for educational purposes.
It's amazing to know that young people could really be ignited in such a way by technology. Lastly, Thato, looking ahead, what do you envision as the future of digital inclusion in South African education, and what role can business play in ensuring that that does happen for our students to become a part of that fourth industrial revolution?
So I think what we are envisioning as the impact catalyst, we seeing as part of our strategy and also our vision, to see that every school in the rural area should have connectivity. And we are also seeing schools in rural areas being more able to interact with other schools in urban areas as well, where a maths teacher in the Western Cape in a suburban area is able to provide a class, from from a class in Western Cape into a class into Limpopo. Those type of collaboration and resource sharing, not only from the internet, but being able to collaborate with other schools, other teachers who are actually best teachers in these type of subjects as well. So I think the businesses, if they put that as an agenda point into how they contribute towards the socio-economic development of South Africa, and ensuring that we all come together as public and private sector, we commonly develop these type of plans, not only at a small scale, but also at a regional scale, so that we are more systematic in terms of how we deploy some of these technologies across our communities to ensure that there is much more impact from a digital inclusion point of view, and we are able to see faster impact, and that is the only way we will be able to see faster impact if we collaborate. And in that way, you are able to stretch the rent much more. We are able to reach much more people, communities as well. You are able to also ensure that there are platforms that will be able to communities to access these educational platforms, job opportunities, business opportunities as well, as you grow this program from the school level into the community as well.
Thank you so much, Thato. I mean, this is a beautiful initiative, and we are hoping that more than the 247 schools that you've been able to connect will be connected through such an initiative. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Thato Matsio, who is the ICT and Education Head at Impact Catalyst.